I saw Battlefield Earth, and Steve saw Ballistic, Ecks vs. Sever. I think I had to say that because I was explaining it to someone, and they did not understand the title multiple times. Ballistic Ecks versus
No,
Sever.
it's Ballistic :
Yeah, that's
X
what
versus
that's
X
why I was
versus.
trying to like
Okay.
put a space between saying Ballistic and X because they're like Ballistic X. I'm like no.
Yeah.
The person who made this just really didn't like people with lisps.
Yeah.
So
The title is always like none of it says anything about the movie. It's just like I don't understand what any of this is about. I get it now.
Good luck defending it on the other
No,
side.
I get it now.
okay.
Are you ready for Movie Versus? Welcome to Movie Versus, the podcast where we pin two terrible movies in an all-out battle for the best of the worst. Here are your hosts, Tyler Lamb, Charlie Pixley, and Steve Shannon. All on Movie Versus!
Hey everybody, this is Movie Versus, the podcast in defense of bad movies. My name is Tyler Lamb. I'm one of the hosts. I'm here with Steve Janik, another host. Steve, how's it going?
It's going pretty good.
That is good. Charlie Pixley, how's it going? You're another host here.
I'm all right. I think I'm still a little sick,
Yeah.
but I think this is going to be one of the most definitive showdowns of like two movies that
Of our
we
generation.
know are terrible.
They're Battlefield Earth, which I believe the full title is Battlefield Earth, Our Civilization in the Year 3000.
That was the book name.
Oh, no, I'm
at
sorry.
least.
Battlefield Earth, A Saga of the Year 3000.
Yeah.
And then, Steve, you saw
Ballistic:
X
versus
Sever.
Sever. When
In the year 3000.
I remember when this movie came out and I was like a kid, I don't know if I just never saw like the title card in the trailers or something, but I was convinced it was like just the letter X, like it was an agent codenamed X, and then like versus Sever, because I was
the
like Sever's-
phonetic version.
yeah,
of it.
no, and then like eventually I was like, oh, it's like a word X, okay.
Yeah. And also, these came out in like 2000.
Mine was
So-
2002.
So I wouldn't. You weren't a kid in 2002.
I was
you weren't-
17.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's still a kid, I guess.
I always misread it as Sever or something just when I was flipping
Yeah.
through movies and like, oh, it's probably just some hacking thing. But
Oh,
I
that
don't
would have been
know.
awesome. Getting in the dark web.
Spoiler alert: there is hacking.
Well, I figured
Well,
because it has
I
that one
concede.
GIF that came from it that's super famous, that Antonio Banderas one, right?
Oh, that's from this
Oh,
movie?
I
I
didn't
don't
Isn't that
think
where he's
so.
looking at the computer and he's like,
I don't think that's
Oh,
from
his
I
head.
don't-
Okay. I've never seen that GIF before.
Oh,
but yeah,
gotcha.
I mean, I'm assuming
That-
if it's
you
what
know
I'm
what I'm
thinking it
talking
is,
about?
I know
It's
exactly.
like-
what you
He's
get.
like, and he leans back. I don't think that's from this.
I don't
movie.
think it's- I don't think it's
well,
from
then
this.
movie has fucking nothing for me. Sorry,
All right,
Steve.
on to
They
next
even-
on to next episode. I will be assigning.
They even
Well, now I want to know where that's from.
they even put that in
been so
like The
misled.
Last of Us. The
Yeah.
character does that in The Last of Us. Hold on, we're vamp for a little bit while I look it up.
Do you say vamp
Well, when
or
did-
vape? Because I'm prepped for that.
Vamp up your vape usage or your vapage. So yours came out in 2000, you said?
2002.
And then I think Battlefield Earth also came out like
2000.
2000, so
Yeah.
those are pretty close at least together.
Here, Steve, this GIF right here.
I don't think so.
You got to be able to find where
Maybe.
that's from, right?
I don't remember seeing that, but it could have because there was that scene like
you
the
tell me
hacking.
you didn't totally focus on every bit of this movie.
It might have been when I was figuring out when I would be coming here.
Now I got to know.
It's from the movie Assassins from 1995.
Son of a-
Oh,
Bitch.
okay, I know that. I know that movie. That's the one with Sylvester Stallone, right?
Uh,
Well, I've been so misled.
I've seen that. I think.
all right, we'll defend it.
No, not right now.
So let's just, Charlie. Yeah, we all know what we're here for.
Yeah.
It's to hear us talk about these movies, Battlefield Earth and Ballistic, Ecks vs. Sever, which I will throw out there that I found out both produced by the same company that now does not exist.
Is it that
Surprisingly
franchise
enough.
one or something?
Yes.
Okay.
So Charlie, I guess let's start this bad boy off.
Well, you go ahead and start it off. Tell me a
Okay.
little bit about Battlefield Earth.
So the year it's the year 3000.
It's a saga of the year. 3000.
The year 3000. Not much has changed, but they live underwater.
Okay.
And Charlie, your great granddaughter, she's doing fine.
Okay, great.
Thank God.
I know we have that, like, there's a very big, it's like a Venn diagram crossover of like fans of this show and fans of the Jonas Brothers.
Sure.
So
or
I think
fans of the punk band, I think it's called Wasted. That song is a cover when the Jonas Brothers did it.
No. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. And I refuse to, despite any fact that comes my way.
I was thinking more of Conan O'Brien in the year 3000.
Oh, that's good. And okay, so it's the Saga of the year 3000. That does say that on the screen when it started. Battlefield Earth, the Saga of the year 3000.
Voiceover by Paul Mooney.
Yes.
And there is, you kind of come into a tribe of humans that are primitive. Excuse me. And you follow these guys a little bit, and basically one of them is like, hey, I'm going to go to see if there's something past like this part of land. And they're like, no, it's dangerous. And he's like, fuck it, I'm going.
Because the world is flat.
And they're like, well, you're going to run into these gods and they're going to kill you. And he's like, well, let's see. And it turns out that the gods that they think it's just like miniature golf course, like the dinosaur big things
Sure.
and like a miniature golf course.
Right.
And he realizes they're all fake because he like starts attacking one and it's just like, he's like, oh, okay. Runs into some other people and they're like, oh yeah, these guys are like, we'll bring you to our gods or something like that. And they're at a mall and they're like, the gods, if you do something wrong, they like freeze you and make you a statue, and talking about all the mannequins. And then they get attacked by the Cyclos and get captured.
Which is John Travolta.
His race,
Okay.
yes. And they capture him and they start putting them to like work. And this is when you kind of find out the Cyclos speak a different language than the humans. So when the Cyclos are speaking English, like when you're hearing the Cyclos
Sure.
speak English, they're not speaking English. Like
Okay, like so it's basically there so that the audience doesn't have to read subtitles or like
correct.
things like
Because
that.
that's hard.
It's
and it
very
does
difficult.
transition it in a way, like, so when you're following the human, what the Cyclos are saying is like nonsense, but then it switches over.
Sure.
And what the humans are saying is nonsense.
That's cool.
So it's
are there subtitles when it's nonsense, or are you just like
No.
unable to understand the
Oh,
other?
it's the same thing as show dogs. When it's from the human perspective, you just hear barking, but then it cuts to the dog's perspective and you hear perfect English.
yeah, I'm sure if you would have stayed for the credits and show dogs, it would have said like thanks, very special thanks to L. Ron Hubbard for coming up with the idea of this. But this is you find out a lot. This is when you find out a lot about the Cyclos, at least how they're working on Earth. They're trying to mine this gold.
Sure.
And basically, John Travolta's character is, I think he's like head of security, but at the same time, like head of the whole operation on the planet right there. What are you laughing about?
John
I was
Travolta
trying
being
to
head of
think
security.
about. Well, anything with the joke about his head in this movie is funny. I was gonna say,
Well, this is a real serious movie. So.
when does he shave his head and then start filming From Paris with Love?
I think it's after Hairspray.
Oh, okay.
Or Hair, whatever that movie was. So he,
It's Hairspray.
he's
Just
kind of
hair.
he's a total. Well, there is one that's just called Hair, I think.
I don't know.
He's a total dick though. Like he's also under the impression like the Cyclos from the Cyclo planet are like gonna come in and tell him like, hey, your tour's over. And you can come back to your home planet, and so he's basically like,
like a military tour. Gotcha.
yeah, and he's pretty much like burning bridges. He's like, oh yeah, fuck off. This one bartender is like, oh hey, yeah, I gave you a bunch of information, right? They helped out, and he's like, yeah, it did. And he's like, so you're not gonna, this kind of thing isn't gonna magically appear on my record, and I'm gonna be fucked, right? And he's like, oh no, and he's like, okay, cool. And he's like, so you better like run the fuck away or something. He's like, what? Why? And he's like, because I'm still gonna put this on your record. He's like, but you said it wouldn't. He's like, I said it wouldn't magically appear. And then like he's like, because I'm gonna put it there. And like, walks. It's like, Jesus, this fucking dickhead.
Wow. It's true. He's not magic.
And then
He's no David Blaine.
it turns out that the Cyclos are like, yeah, you did a great job here, so we're fucking keeping you here. And he's pissed that he has to stay. And Forrest Whitaker he found like a gold area that he was gonna keep secret until until John Travolta left, and then be like, hey guys, look what I found. And John Travolta finds out about that. He's pissed, and he's like, well, we're gonna go after it. They basically devise this plan to teach they call them man-animals.
Manimals?
Not manimals.
I know. And they're like, we're gonna teach them how to mine the gold for us, like, and take, because it's kind of off base in this area. They're like, we're gonna teach them how to do it for us, and they're like, oh, okay, whatever. And they think the men are like just fucking idiots. And part of the way that they teach them, they take the guy who left the town at the beginning. He's kind of like the main human character. They take him and they kind of do one of those. Not like Clockwork Orange things, but they set him up in a thing and kind of force him to.
Oh, like what is that? Marathon Man?
I
can't remember what it is. Where they like hold his eyes open and like.
That's Clockwork Orange.
Oh.
That they do that.
They probably do it in multiple movies.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. Like forced propaganda feeding, like brainwashing.
And more like teaching him. And so they're like teaching him how to speak the Cyclo language and how to so that they can talk to him and be like, hey, this is how you mine and stuff like that. So this guy ends up learning the language and
becomes their savior.
Well, he uses that to kind of help the humans escape, like his kind escape, because then he'll, at one point they cornered one of the Cyclos, and he basically told all the humans, he was like, no, yeah, well, we're gonna keep this guy alive so that then we can kind of like secretly make a plan to escape and use their shit against them while we're like, they think we're mining. We can devise this plan. And then he tells the Cyclo, he's like, because some of the humans walk away, and he's like, oh yeah, I told him that it'd be stupid of us to kill you, because then you'd just get us killed if we tried, or something like that. He's like, oh yeah, you're smart, I knew you. And he had no idea the plan. And he brought the human to like a library, like an old human library, I think, to read and kind of like learn more about stuff. And he finds out about Fort Knox while he's reading these books. And so part of when they're like mining, he's like, hey, we're not actually going to mine. We're going to like devise this plan, learn how to use their equipment, all this stuff. And they're like, well, how are we going to get the gold? And he's like, we're going to fly over to fucking Fort Knox and take the gold and give it to him. And there's this little funny exchange where this John Travolta's like, oh, hey, you got all the gold. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, why is it already in fucking bricks? And then he's like, we thought you would like it pre-smelted. And John Travolta's like, well, if you have enough time to smelt, then I expect this much more gold next time. And so they do all that. Their plan is, because the Cyclos can't breathe in the human environment, they have to like use this like nostril
rebreather sort of thing.
Yeah. And that is connected to a system, like a specific dome thing. That
biodome?
Buddy. And they're like, so we're going to destroy that. We're going to do a full-on attack. And then they find at one of the they go to Texas, Fort Lauderdale, and they get like all this weapons, like planes and fighter jets and stuff like that.
So all this stuff is still just like laying around after whatever happened.
Mm-hmm.
Do we ever find out what happened on Earth?
No, I don't think so. And then they like, why do you look so confused?
No,
okay. And they also find like a little flight simulator thing so that they can learn how to pilot the
Ace Combat 6.
Yeah, exactly. It's actually Microsoft. It's Microsoft. Land? It's Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Oh, okay.
No, they don't. It's just, and so they get like a group of them to learn how to fly those. They find like a fucking giant like nuke kind of thing, and the plan with that is to use the teleport area in the Cyclo base in Denver, and bring it back to their planet and pretty much set it off and just destroy the planet, or at least a good chunk of it with the nuke. And so they start doing all that. Then the whole final act takes place where they fight everything and they destroy everything.
Do they ever explain why they need /want the gold?
Why?
Why
Money,
the Cyclos?
Money.
Okay, I wasn't sure if
Yeah.
because sometimes
They also
it's
use
like
gold on the Cyclo planet.
I guess so. And there's actually they have a rule in there that if there is anything that no law matters if there is a chance that profits are going to be lost. So you can break any rule to make sure that profits aren't going to be lost.
Okay.
Wow, man, society, dude.
We live in a society.
Really makes me think about capitalism.
Fucking money, dude.
Yeah, I mean, John Travolta gets his arm blown off.
Oh, thank God.
and then
Which one?
He gets his right arm, and then he gets captured and is held prisoner in Fort Knox.
Does he switch his arm with another Cyclo's arm?
No, he's just armless.
So this is an arm off.
Forrest Whitaker gets his hand shot off.
Same hand or
Left hand.
Like normal guns or laser guns?
So their guns are kind of like a mixture of the both. The Cyclo's guns, because they can shoot these like stun things out, but also it seems like they shoot stuff that's pretty much comparable to bullets. If that makes sense.
Okay.
It's probably just like a setting on the gun where it's like set phasers to stun kind of thing.
Set phasers to bullets.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Okay. Steve.
Oh, I'm next. Is that what we're doing
Speaking
here?
of bullets,
There are many in this
tell
film.
me about Ballistic.
Okay. So it starts off with this woman meeting her son at an airport, like this kid, and he's a young kid. He's like 6 or 7, somewhere in that area. And he gets off a plane.
The
gets in
metal
car.
one.
Yeah, yeah. It's a real meet cute, this movie, Ballistic, Ecks versus Sever. But it's his mom, and the mom picks the kid up and takes him home. And when she gets home, there's like these federal agent type people standing there, and like, yeah, your husband wants to see your son. He said, things have changed. Like he can actually see him while he's in, like now that he's back home, sort of thing. So we're taking him to go visit his dad, and it's like a protected convoy type thing. And you're like, man, what's going on with these people? And they leave the house. They're taking the kid to see his dad.
Is mom cool with it, or
she's not happy. She's like, no, like this isn't what's going on. And they're just like, whatever, we're taking this kid to see his dad.
Good.
And you're like you're in one of those situations where you're like, is the dad like this crazy drug dealer that she doesn't want to be a part of anymore?
Yeah.
Like what's exactly happening? Either way, immediately that convoy is destroyed.
Okay.
Pretty much everyone in it is killed except for like one guy, and Lucy Liu takes the kid because Lucy Liu is Agent Sever, which I had no idea about. I had no idea who was in this film.
Oh, really?
Like the movie
really?
started and it was like Antonio Banderas, Lucy Liu, and I was like,
Hell
fucking
yeah.
really? Like, all right, let's do this.
In the titular roles.
Yeah, in the
Oh,
titular
beautiful.
roles. And so they kidnap the kid, or she kidnaps the kid and takes him away. And then after that happens,
Wait, she kidnaps him, or she was one of the agents that like?
she kidnaps him.
Oh, she did like the attack on the
she
convoy.
did the attack on the
Okay.
convoy. And she just fucks these dudes up. And takes the kid, and she's got him hidden in like her little secret bunker area. And the FBI approaches former disgraced agent,
Agent X.
Jeremiah Ecks. And like they come to him and like, hey, we need your help. And he's like, I'm not doing any of this. Like, I'm out. I don't want to be a part of this anymore. And his boss, or I guess former boss, comes in and puts down a recorder and plays a recording. And it's audio that this was a little weird in my opinion. You think it's gonna have something to do with the kid? It does not. It's just this voice, and you're like, who? What? I don't. And it's not saying anything important. You're like, what the fuck does this matter? But it turns out it's the voice of his wife, who he thinks died 7 years ago, and she's still alive. And he's like, listen,
Jeez.
and he's like, she's alive, but I'm not going to tell you where she is until you
What a
help me
dick.
do this. And he's like, why don't you just tell me where he is? He's like, if I tell you where she is, I know that you're not going to help me at all.
If I tell you where she is, then you're gonna go get her.
Exactly. He's like, you're immediately going to go get her, and I need you to do this. Please help me out with this, and I will help you find your wife.
So he was saving
apparently
his wife being alive has like one leverage card to get him back into the game.
he asked him about it. He's like, "Why didn't you tell me about this sooner?" He's like, "I just found out."
Bullshit.
And I know, like it seems a little coincidental until you find out that actually his wife is the mother of the child.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Sweet Jesus.
So he gets
The
involved.
child is his.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Well, we'll get since you guessed it, I gave it to you, but we'll get to that point later because he doesn't know about that until much later.
Okay, gotcha.
So he, of course, is like, "Fine, I'll help you do this." And so he goes out. He's working with an FBI team. It's basically just him and this guy kind of helping him out, and they're waiting to hear about her. The father attacks Lucy Liu, like she's just out doing some stuff. Like she's basically out in public trying to draw the guy out. So
How does he know it's her? Or did
they know they have footage of,
okay, gotcha. Of the attack.
of like the attack. And so they find her, their like private military sort of attacks her. The police come. It's this whole big thing, but as it's happening, Antonio Banderas hears like the report over the radio, and he's like, "That's her. Like, we got to get, like, it's time." And so he goes and confronts her too. She takes care of like the police, this like paramilitary group. Like she's beating everybody's ass, just taking people out left and right. He chases her down, almost catches up to her, but they end up having a fight on a rooftop because he's chased her to there. It's not really a rooftop. It's kind of like a harbor type area.
Okay.
Because they're near water.
Sure.
But they're on, I think they're on like warehouses in the harbor area.
Okay.
And the paramilitary group comes down and like shoots at them while they're fighting. Like, because they're trying to get rid of both of them pretty much at this point. Because they're like, he's gonna do like, it's all gonna be bad. So what you find out later is that the mob boss type person is actually he's former military. He's left the military, but he found in Europe they were making this thing. It's kind of like a nano robot to kill people so that they can take out. God damn it! I've lost so the amount that Charlie is laughing makes me think that I've lost so hard already.
I've been thinking that with both these movies, and I'm waiting for you to go. It turns out the mob boss is actually the kid. Anyway,
Who is actually
Charlie, you can't
young
ruin-
John Travolta
Oh,
as a cyclo.
You can't ruin my sting.
no, okay. So the mob boss,
He
nano robots.
Yeah, he's got a nano robot, and it's basically going to be used to like kill world leaders without it looking like an assassination.
Sure, Prime Minister of Claymatia.
Yeah, Claymatia. Exactly that one. So
I thought it was Franz Ferdinand.
it was Franz Ferdinand. That's Archduke Franz Ferdinand.
Sure.
So they end up like getting away from each other. He goes back to the FBI to try and figure things out. The paramilitary group goes back to their boss to tell them that they failed once again to capture Lucy Liu, and then she goes back to talk to the kid. And then while she's like taking care of the kid, you find out that the kid has the nano robot in him.
Do they say nano robot?
No, its
Okay.
its code name is Soft Kill.
So they don't say
Nanite?
They don't say nanobot.
No,
Okay.
Micro Machine.
but
Nano machine.
But the kid has the nano robot in his body because the boss smuggled it into the country in him because they knew that they wouldn't check the kid, but they
Yeah.
check
Sure.
check them for everything. So he's trying to get to his kid so he can get this nano robot so he can like collapse governments and shit like that all
Yeah.
over the country. So
Of course.
So in the course of this firefight, the guy, like the FBI agent that was kind of holding the location of his wife over Antonio Banderas, tells him that like she knows where your wife is. Like she knows where he is too. And so he ends up when he's chasing her down at one point, as she's getting away, she like drops a piece of paper on him and is like, "Hey, this is the location of your wife. She's with she's with Gant, the mob boss.
Okay.
And so he ends up finding out where he is and gets a message to him or to his wife, and they end up meeting, and she explains like that Gant, the mob boss, faked her death, like basically made them each think that the other was dead in the same explosion.
Gotcha.
Sort of thing. So he kind of drives her, and she was an undercover agent as well, and kind of with him, and so he kind of like forces her to him and like forces Antonio Banderas away.
Okay.
And at the same time, when that happened, she was pregnant, and she like just was about to tell him but didn't, and thinks he's dead. And so now this mob boss thinks the kid's his, all this sort of thing. And then it just becomes like the end is kind of a showdown where now Antonio Banderas is working with Lucy Liu, and they kind of lure the guy into a fight on their terms and take him out because he's kind of like running a shadow government operation sort of thing.
A real Batman v Superman situation, then.
Yes.
Okay,
and
good.
one of the biggest things I should probably point out is that the second in command of the mob boss is Ray Park, best known for being Darth Maul.
Sure.
So, and
Okay.
there is
Sweet combat scenes.
there is an eventual combat scene between him and Lucy Liu where they both drop their guns and go for a fist fight.
Gotcha. Does he have a bow staff or anything that
He does not have a bow staff, but they end up using they're in kind of like a warehouse district.
Okay.
It's like warehouse train yard sort of place, and so they end up fighting with
shipping yard of some kind.
Yeah, they end up fighting with like loose chains.
Oh, jeez. Okay. All right. Interesting. Both these movies sound very interesting. Mm-hmm. Tyler.
Yeah.
Tell me about your favorite action scene.
This is the most ridiculous thing.
I want from you both your favorite action scene / kill, and then the funniest part, intentionally funny part. So
Okay.
you'll do the action scene first, and you'll do the comedy. Then you'll do comedy, and you'll do action, just to kind of.
I think that as far as that whole last battle is pretty much one big action scene where like you got like jets flying around fighting the
like alien jets.
yes, and also the like human jets that they
Okay.
got from
Yeah.
yeah
From Tejas.
yeah. And it's like there's like aerial battle there, and then there's also like ground battle, the big the showdown between I can't think of the guy's name who plays the main actor, but him and John Travolta, which is what ends with John Travolta getting his arm blown off. And then as far as like funny thing goes, I thought it was intentional. That whole like thing with the bartender, I thought was kind of funny. Where he was just like, he was like, "Oh yeah, thanks for all the information. So you better try to run and hide." And just I don't know. I just thought that was pretty funny.
Okay. Well, you didn't have to do both of them right now, but that's fine.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Steve.
For me, the funniest part is
And best action sequence too.
yeah, and best action sequence. Well, I mean, this whole movie is essentially one action sequence, but the funniest scene is Antonio Banderas. He gets framed for shooting the FBI agent, so like take him in, and while they're transporting him, Lucy Liu like basically breaks him out of jail. Like he's being transported, and he's picking the locks on his handcuffs with a paper clip he picked up,
Like you do.
like you do. And as they're driving, he like looks up at an overpass and sees Lucy Liu standing there, and she just pulls out an RPG and just fires away on this transport. And that leads into a pretty big chase, which I don't think is the best action scene. But it leads into a chase, and I mean, it was intentional because it was just ridiculous how many RPGs go off in traffic in this section. Because she shoots 2 into the bus. He finds a grenade launcher from like the front of the bus, from like where the guards are, and he gets out on that and starts firing the grenade launcher at her on the bridge.
Wait, they're shooting these at each other?
Yeah.
I remembered another funny part in my movie. There's a while where he's like to make it so to get these guys to learn how to mine and all this stuff, they're like, we should entice them with like food, like whatever their favorite food is. We don't know that much about humans, and so they set a pack, like a little group of them free to like, and they actually had them hooked up with
like
cameras
to see
on
where
their
they
ship,
go, or
to
what
see where they
want.
went, and then once they're like, okay, once they get far enough away, they're going. One of the first things they're gonna do is find their favorite food or whatever and eat it, and they get a good distance away. And the first food they find is what they eat. They obviously don't
Right.
like immediate. And they like the first type of food they see is a rat. And so they're like, oh shit, a fucking rat, some food. And they grab the rat and they're like, this must be the human's favorite food. And Forrest Whitaker is like, it's just a rat. And he's like, well, obviously it's their favorite food because it's the first thing they went to. And then he starts like, they don't have a fire, so he has to eat it raw. And they're like, raw rat. And then later in the movie, when they're teaching him, and he hasn't learned all their language yet, and John Travolta comes over there and he's like, hey, little man, are you good? And he like dangles the rat in front of him, like, are you hungry, little man? And I don't know, that was just pretty funny.
All right. And then the best action sequence is the train yard. Like, after they kind of meet back up and they team up, they pretty much set up a crazy ambush in this train yard. There's like explosives and guns hidden everywhere.
Okay.
Like every time someone thinks they have the upper hand, they just pull another gigantic automatic weapon because Lucy Liu has been just stockpiling tons of shit.
Sure.
Because she actually was she's from China in the show, and basically what the idea is that she is a female child that was given up for adoption because the Chinese wanted boys instead of girls, and so she was taken from the orphanage, and because she didn't have a family or anything, was basically turned into into an agent because she had no ties or anything. And ever since she kind of got out of the game, because her family was killed by Gant, the mob boss. So like it's kind of like a twofold thing for her. She's trying to get back in him and stop everything that he's doing.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at your thing. I'm just laughing at the total idea of these two. Anyway, continue.
So they're just constantly blowing train cars like onto people, blowing them up. People are coming around corners to find Lucy Liu and or Antonio Banderas with like a different weapon, getting lit up, only to like them run to the other side of a train and like hide and like come up with a different weapon. It's just over and over again, just explode like basically mazes where like every dead end is actually an explosion.
Okay, Steve, I got a question for you, and Tyler, you'll get the same thing. Mm-hmm. How did this movie change you, and going forward in your life, what do you think will be different now?
Well, I definitely have a newfound love for
RPGs.
No. There are so many RPGs. It definitely reminded me of like that electronic rock from like the early 2000s, like Crystal Method. Like this movie was like pure like it was a Crystal Method music video essentially. And I will never forget this music from here on out.
So, I mean, you're going to download the soundtrack to it, maybe?
Yes.
From LimeWire.
Yeah.
Oh my God, definitely from LimeWire.
Yes.
Maybe Juarez if I'm feeling saucy.
All right.
So after watching this movie, I have become really, really interested in the works of L. Ron Hubbard.
Even more.
Yeah, and so I've really been starting to delve deep into what he has to offer as a science fiction
fact
author. And I don't know if you guys know this, but he actually there's this really cool religion that he founded that
Go on.
is looking pretty good.
Calvinism.
So I think that I'm gonna start looking into that maybe because I'm at a point in my life I'm kind of lost and I'm pretty directionless, so I kind of need that kind of thing pointing me in the right way.
Do you have any trifold pieces of paper with little brief bits of information on it that you could give me?
I mean, I could make one. Yeah. What do you need it for?
Just so I can kind of learn about it,
Oh, okay.
An informational pamphlet. if you
Yeah,
will.
or some brochures
Okay,
or
I got
something.
you. Yeah, I could print something off for you.
All right, Tyler, give me your final thoughts on this movie.
So I mean, obviously, I mean, both of these movies are notorious for being not good. I mean, there's no workaround for that. I can't sit here and tell you that this was actually a good movie.
But you could try.
But it would be blatantly lying. I think that what I can say is I think it's one of those that its badness is overblown, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Whereas, I mean, you can take examples, especially in the Rotten Tomato climate of today,
Sure.
where people hear, hey, this movie's supposed to be bad, and so then you watch it with that mindset and you
Sure.
just nitpick everything.
Right.
And I think that this movie is I'm not saying it's
It got Rotten Tomatoes before Rotten Tomatoes was a thing.
no, the Rotten Tomatoes was a thing. In
I know, but
2000.
no one gave a shit about it.
They still had the Razzies because this won a shit ton of Razzies.
You know what didn't? Ecks versus Sever.
And I mean, I don't know. I think I was maybe expecting it to be a lot worse, I guess, just after all the bad
Sure.
buzz. And it's still like an interesting just piece of work.
Okay. A rich tapestry of a world he's created.
Yeah, I mean, John Travolta is just
His forehead is just so big in the movie.
in the movie. I mean, this guy is a Best Actor winner. Let's just remember that, or nominee
For what?
Pulp Fiction.
Really?
Supporting, maybe. Yeah, he was
Okay.
nominated. And he
Oh, so he's won just as many as me.
devoted millions of his own money for this movie. So I mean, it can't be bad.
I guess that's true. So this movie was exactly what it said it was, and I think that's
Ballistic.
Ecks
Yeah.
versus Sever.
like
Did
it
they
was.
ever explain why it's called ballistic, or just because that many
I mean, it was
firearms are
Yeah.
used?
It was nonstop. Like this movie was so much explosions, gunfights, chase scenes. It did not try to like pretend that it was like some deep, meaningful work. It was like, we're here to have some fun and blow some stuff up, and the plot is just kind of like the backdrop on which we get to do that. And it
Okay.
was, I mean, it wasn't like an Oscar-winning movie, but it was fun. Like there were fight scenes.
Hot take.
Lucy Liu showed off some martial arts
should-
skills. Ray Park got in on
That's
the
weird.
situation.
She never does that.
That should be put on the DVD. Not an Oscar-winning movie. Steve Janik.
Completely accurate.
Hot take.
But it was just fun and ridiculous.
Okay, I think I've come to my conclusion. So
Yeah.
after hearing both riveting arguments, I think I will go with Ballistic. And my reasoning is that Battlefield didn't sound weird enough to me, if that makes sense.
I mean, it's pretty fucking weird.
I can believe that, but I don't know. It just didn't seem weird enough
I've
to
never
me to
s-
warrant me like wanting to see it. Like,
I know what you
oh,
mean,
this
because like
shit
I've
is
never seen the
so
movie, but I thought it was
fucking
gonna
weird.
like you started saying things and I was like, oh, this seems pretty tame for what I thought this movie
That's what
was.
I was kind of thinking too. And then his sounds just like consistently boom, 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 and at least it'd be. It
that.
sounds like it goes full in on the so bad it's so good. Whereas yours, if you're really saying that, it's like it's not as bad as you're thinking. Then it's gonna be like, okay, well then, fuck. If it's just gonna be kind of shitty, then I
Yeah.
definitely don't want to watch that. But if it was full on. Going in on like there's some wacky ass shit going on in this, that would make me more likely to watch it.
Okay.
Okay,
Success.
Tyler, can you let me know what you think?
You want my real thoughts first?
Sure.
Okay, yeah, this was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. This was absolute shit. It is as bad as everybody says it is. It is so awful. The color palette alone in the movie, it's just so gray and weird. And then I would say 90% of the shots are Dutch angles. where the camera's tilted to the side, like so much
But
so
it's
that
artsy,
it made me start like going insane because it's like, what is even level anymore? Like why is it
You think
constantly?
your TV's hanging at an angle or
Yeah,
something.
even like close-ups are just like slightly tilted a little bit. And it fucks with you even more because then when it is maybe level, you're like, wait, is it actually level or is it just?
They're standing on a hill.
Like it was. Oh my gosh, that alone was terrible. The acting was so fucking bad.
Not even JT.
Oh my god, he was awful. There's a line in it that I rewound like 5 times because of how funny and terrible the delivery was.
Can we watch it?
Yeah, I'll pull it up. I'll
Okay.
imitate it real quick. Actually, I might just play it off because it's just the way he says it that's funny. It's surprising how bad it is. Like the acting, because these
And you've been hearing bad hype about this for years and years. So for it to still surpass your expectations is pretty incredible.
yeah, and it felt so long. Here, let's see if here.
While you were still learning how to spell your name.
Just the way he says that, because up until he's like, yeah, you were until all the way up until.
While you were still learning how to spell your name. I was being trained to conquer galaxies.
That is this movie. I mean, it's there. The scene where John Travolta shoots Forrest Whitaker's hand off.
Wait, why does he shoot his hand off?
Because there's this whole like Forrest Whitaker is like trying to betray him, but then he's like, "Oh, you're not going to betray," like all this stuff.
Sure.
And it's this huge internal conflict, and he shoots his hand off, and it's literally like Forrest Whitaker has his hands up, and John Travolta shoots off his left hand, and it's literally just like Forrest Whitaker just looks at his hand like, "Oh no, my hand!" Like he doesn't. There's no reaction. He just looks like, there's no blood or
so
anything.
Fucking funny too that John
silence, man.
Travolta's hella famous at this point.
Yeah,
And then he pours his own money into this is obviously a passion project for him.
apparently it had been a like when the book came out. L. Ron Hubbard was like, I want to make this a movie. And there was a bunch, even in like the 80s and late 70s, there was like trying to make this a movie, but then he died. So like it kind of
Sure.
petered off. So he was probably like, I'm going to finish Wood.
That's funny because my
My
movie
boy L
like
started.
my movie actually started trying to be filmed in the 80s. Like the original shot was supposed to be in the 80s with Dolph Lundgren.
Oh wow.
So this is at a 3% on Rotten Tomatoes. 2.3 out of 10 average rating.
Better than mine.
2.3. It is. 2.3 out of 10 rating. And then 148 reviews. So that's only 4 fresh. 144 rotten. Ugly, campy, and poorly acted, Battlefield Earth is stunningly misguided, aggressively bad sci-fi folly. One review just says appalling. There are many things to make fun of here, which I wouldn't even really agree with because it was just so. It was one of those that was so bad I wouldn't even say it's so bad it's good. It was
So it's
just
like-
like this is just a chore to watch.
So did my decision kind of fit where it's like it doesn't even sound good bad enough to watch?
It's not. I would I would not recommend anybody to watch this.
Maybe
ever.
some clips on YouTube.
I know that people are going to be like, "Oh man, it really is that bad. I should watch it." Do not bother. It's on Netflix, so it was easy to watch. Like as in,
It was easy to access.
Yeah, accessibility
Not
wise.
easy to watch.
But this is just a waste of 2 hours of your day. Watch something better. Do not sit here and watch this movie. A positive review from IGN Movies.
Jeez.
Overall, I liked the movie. I thought it was a good, mindless sci-fi flick with a lot of effects and action.
Posted on April 1st.
Yeah. The worst movie in living memory. Worst example of vanity filmmaking in years. Pretty much the showgirls of sci-fi shoot 'em ups.
Ooh.
Charlie's back in.
Place it next to the Omega Code, and the Omega Code shines. I've never heard of the Omega Code, but
not familiar.
Yeah. Robin did not review Battlefield Earth. That's just this reviewer named Robin. His little excerpt is Robin did not review Battlefield Earth. Blame this mess on Travolta. My eyes, it burns. It ain't really that terrible, even though it's a negative review. The story is quite weak. I'm trying to find these positive ones. I got one of them. Don't see this movie. And you thought Dune was bad. Pretty terrible film. Jesus Christ. Here we go. Is it worth seeing once? Sure. That was a positive review.
A shimmering review.
Despite starting off like a bad Star Trek episode, the film eventually graduates to a higher level.
A worse Star Trek episode.
It's been a while since we've seen dumb entertainment this unpretentious, so why worry that it doesn't make a lick of sense?
It sounds pretty pretentious,
Yes,
actually.
absolutely.
The dialogue is inane and acting wooden. It was just like, I mean, and to know that this came out in like 2000 is also mind blowing. Like, it looked like a movie that came out in like 1990. The way that it just looks bad. And I'm not even just saying special effects, just the look of everything is just bad.
Sweet Dutch angles.
Yeah, oh my God. That was
Angles, so Dutch.
and it was just terrible.
Well, Steve, I'm pumped to hear all the good reviews about your movie on Rotten Tomatoes.
So just before I get into my thoughts, my movie is sitting at a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
What are your real thoughts though?
But look at all your real thoughts. Do your real thoughts first before you.
This movie was awful. Like none of the fight scenes were any good.
Aw, damn.
Like when Ray Park and Lucy Liu get out, I was like, finally, two people that actually do, like, because earlier there's a fight scene between her and Antonio Banderas, and it's awful. And then when she like squares off against Ray Park, I was like, okay, we got two people who have experience in fighting. Maybe this one will be better. But all the fight scenes were super slow. They looked like they had just recorded blocking and like practice fight.
Oh, okay.
Because it was so slow.
Like Captain Kirk versus that lizard monster.
Yeah,
Where it's like
it was just like you could see them set up for like moves and stuff. It was just like
you see the tape on the ground.
yeah, it just looked so bad, and I was so disappointed. And like there were a couple times like when Antonio Banderas had the grenade launcher, the effects for that were like most of the explosions were fine. I will say that. Like the explosions looked good, except for when he used the grenade launchers, because it was like that 90s effect where it looked like they just like stuck a sparkler where it was supposed to be, and it was just like that white phosphorus sparkling off where the hit was, and I was like, that don't make any sense.
It's not even an explosion. It's just kind of
there's a scene at the beginning where after the kid gets kidnapped, the head of the security detail goes back and talks to Gant, the mob boss guy, and the mob boss is like, back in the day, you know, if a knight failed the king, the knight would do the honorable thing and fall on his sword. And he like takes a gun out and he's like, fall on your sword. And the guy he's like, put the gun to your head. And the guy puts the gun to his head. He's like, no, shoot yourself. And the guy stands there for a second and he takes the gun and points it at him. And when he fires, like, I don't know exactly what happens, but suddenly he has a bullet hole in his forehead. And I'm like, I don't understand how any of this happened. Like, it just makes zero sense.
like maybe the gun was designed to fire backwards or
but
something.
He's not like in his forehead line. He's like, it's at a normal, it's just like, I stared at that scene for so long trying to figure out what the fuck just happened.
See, it would have been a test, because then if he would have shot himself in the head, it really would have just killed some innocent bystander.
Exactly.
Instead. Anything enjoyable? Like, would it be fun to even watch with buddies? Or
maybe, because like some things were just so ridiculous. Like in the first chase scene, well, when they first like run into Lucy Liu when she's like out in public and they're like attacking her, they do that thing like all of the paramilitary guys, they're snipers and stuff, and they're just standing on like the edges of buildings completely exposed.
I thought you were saying that they're going to be parachuting and
No,
sniping people while they're
No, they're just all standing on buildings.
damn,
very
I missed again.
very visible, like in a way that you like the guy's like on his knee, like
Yeah.
crouched down, like on the like
Sure.
like you know how on some of those
Middle
buildings
of the
they have
day.
like well, it's middle of the day and it's like those I guess like walls on the top of the buildings to like keep people from falling off the top of the building. They're on top of that, kneeling down, like fully aiming. And there's like, if you would look up, you'd just be like, "What the fuck's that?"
Like,
and
there'd
they're
be
not
public
like
panic.
yeah,
You just see
and
with
the buildings aren't
sniper
that
rifles.
tall. It's not like they're on top of skyscrapers. They're on top of like 4 or 5 story buildings in like a downtown area.
Like, I can read your badge.
Yeah. And they do that scene where like one of the snipers is like looking for her and he goes back and forth and then like tracks on her and she's just aiming an RPG at him.
How many fucking RPGs does she shoot in this movie?
So many goddamn RPGs.
And to shoot an RPG at a single person is
Yeah.
such overkill.
But when she's trying to get away, she's in a car and like she runs into this building and Antonio Banderas is following her and she backs out of like the garage like through the door like she doesn't open it and almost hits him and he dives out of the way and as she goes to drive he shoots the tire with the shotgun that he has and she because of that she crashes the car that she's in. But like the thing is that they're in like an alleyway that's 2 cars wide, right? She doesn't get hit by the thing and like swerve into this car. She hits it as if she was going to drive directly into it anyway. It's a parked car that she just perfectly lines up into. Like, you would not have been there driving at that speed. It's just, it's ridiculous. And when Antonio Banderas gets arrested for killing that FBI agent, the Ray Park and like his second, like the guy that's with him, they're just our visitors at the FBI and just go in and talk to him while he's in like the interrogation room. Like, how did these guys get anywhere in here? Like, it just makes 0 sense.
Jeez. Would you recommend it to anyone?
If you're watching it with friends, it would be fun because, like seriously, it's probably like an hour worth of gunfights and explosion, and then like 30 minutes of them trying to pretend like the plot makes sense.
Gotcha.
After Antonio Banderas finds out his wife's alive, and Lucy Liu's like she's with him. She just goes to this aquarium and she's like in an aquarium looking at the aquarium and then he just shows up. I'm like, what?
Classic aquarium scene, really.
It really is, but it's like does she just go to the aquarium every Thursday at 2? Like, is this just something that he knows where she would be?
Would this movie be better if it was directed by John Woo?
Oh God, yes.
Okay.
We would have so many more doves.
Yeah.
Which great addition.
You pointed at me for
which we all know Tyler loves
the doves.
So let's see those RT.
Yes.
Well, get the readout and all that.
Okay. So it's currently at a 0% tomato meter. It's 70% for viewers though. It is
crazy.
116.
17. I don't know why he said 70.
Oh, I 17. I
thought you said
70. I just
Holy
misspoke.
shit.
No, sorry, 17 viewer.
Big difference.
116 reviews, 116 bad.
It's 2.6 out of 10 is the average rating, I think.
Yeah. A startlingly inept film, Ballistic, Ecks vs. Sever, offers overblown wall-to-wall action without a hint of wit or coherence in style or originality.
I like that somebody's like, this movie is so inept, it is startling.
So there's no positive reviews for you to read, but if you want to read some of those negative ones,
No. Like I read a couple of these earlier, and the first ones were really good.
This movie, fun.
For many viewers, the big question may not be whether Ecks and Sever will get together or why they are fighting in the first place. But why am I sitting here anyway? An action film starring Antonio Banderas and Lucy Liu, Ballistic, Ecks vs. Sever looks like a video game promo. Has a story that plays like the 5th episode of a struggling syndicated action show and feels like a headache waiting to happen.
oh my god, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Between explosions, there's enough room for only minimal character development. An endless barrage of bullets and bazookas. This person doesn't know what an RPG is.
Yeah. Bazooka.
The subplots are so complicated, it's difficult to keep up, let alone care. Which is true, because there was a point in this movie where I was like, what's going on? I went to the wiki of this movie while watching this movie, because I was like, what exactly is happening?
Well, yeah.
You need some supplemental material.
In Battlefield Earth, it didn't really make sense. Well, the whole thing didn't. But when he like gets him in the library, then like 2 seconds later, he's just like, first off, the dude's reading a book backwards. And John Travolta's
It was
like,
manga.
are you satisfied? And he's like, yeah. And then later he's like, yeah, so I know about Fort Knox. And it's like, wait, what the fuck? How long were you in that library? And they go to Fort Knox. They're in Denver. They go to Fort Knox in like a few days, get all this stuff. Then they also go to Texas. It's like, how the fuck are they making these super long trips there and back this quickly? I mean, they have the alien, spacecraft, but it seems to only move as fast as a normal
Car.
fighter jet, like
fighter
just jet or plane. So it's like it's still gonna be
A couple hours.
Yeah. And meanwhile, they're like still watching them work to keep tabs on them. So they had to like sneak out. So it's like, what the fuck is even? And then it turns out that this was only like less than half of the book. They were supposed to make a sequel, which I don't get because it ends with them capturing the main bad guy and holding him in Fort Knox and blowing up the Cycloplanet. It's like, what the fuck is? how is there more movie? How is there more book?
Join the Kickstarter to see.
Yeah, there's a part where the guys who are from Cyclo that come and tell John Travolta he's doing 50 more tours, where they leave, and there's a cut where it cuts to the Cyclo planet, and it says like Cyclo hometown or whatever, and then it cuts to the actual planet and just shows the guys materialize on the planet, and then it cuts back to Earth.
More importantly, like, couldn't you just like hang it, like go home every night then?
Yeah, well, I think you need like permission, because if he just went back, he'd be like a Bo Bergdahl, he'd be a traitor, he'd be a deserter.
That's true. Yeah, and also, this movie's soundtrack was awful. Like, I don't hate the music, but it was just like
I hate Crystal Method.
like I don't hate it completely, but like the movie really, it was just constant like electronic rock. Crystal Methods, like just so loud. It was drowning out explosions.
Oh shit!
Yikes!
It was just insane. This movie was a mess.
Well, thank you guys for watching this.
I actually was watching it on an illegal site, and halfway through, I'm pretty sure it got taken down, and so I had to rent it on Amazon.
Oh no! Yeah, I lucked out. I just typed in Battlefield on Netflix, and it popped up, and I was like, "Oh, yes,
The dream.
Yes! I don't have to pay $3 to rent this."
Mine was $4.
Oh shit!
You
Fucking Amazon.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I hope you didn't pay for like the HD conversion or whatever. No. Okay, good.
You watched it in its SD glory.
I mean, I would have probably. Screw it.
Yeah, I probably would have too. It's like $1 more.
You make
typically.
it sound like Lucy Liu. Every other shot she's in is her like just turning the corner with an RPG ready to fire at someone.
Like, aside from the fact that there were 2 scenes of her like giving food to the child, it was.
Okay, good.
But like in Tyler's movie, people got shot and they were just like, ugh, like they physically said ugh, and then like landed, and like the guy at the end, Lucy Liu shoots him, and he's like he goes ugh and drops his gun and he's shot in the arm, and I was like you would react
Yeah.
differently.
When
But it turns out she had extracted the nanobot from the kid and put it on the tip of that bullet, and then she kills him with
I
it.
mean, it might as. I mean, yeah. When John Travolta got his arm blown off, he might as well have said, "Huh." Like, I
well,
mean,
that sucks.
yeah. It's like, oh,
They
shit.
did
That was my good arm.
They did a part when they kind of did like a Chekhov's motorcycle, like when she attacks the transport thing, a motorcycle like crashes and slides to a halt, and then the motorcycle just like they just have a shot of the motorcycle just laying there on the ground, and then it cuts back to the thing, and he gets out of the bus, and then just gets on that motorcycle and starts chasing her.
Of course.
In the third act, the motorcycle went off.
Yep.
All right. Do we have anything else to say? About
Nothing could be said about these.
It's.
Please don't see them.
I don't think there's anything that can be said about him that have not already been said by anybody ever.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just so.
Yeah.
I can't believe we did this. Nobody really is a winner here.
I'm glad you guys brought some fresh takes on these movies, though.
With that all being said, you can check us out on any of the socials at Movie Versus Podcast. Thanks to...
Sorry, I do have one thing. The original, like there were 2 original casts. Sever was originally meant to be a man, and the original duo set for this movie was Wesley Snipes and Jet Li. When that didn't work out, the second set was Vin Diesel and Sylvester Stallone.
Oh,
And,
man.
and what we ended up with was Antonio Banderas and Lucy Liu.
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
So okay.
Sorry about the
That
interruption.
is,
No
that is an
apologies.
interesting fun fact.
Yeah, so check us out on the socials at Movie Versus Podcast. Thanks to Scott Blackwell for the images, Jeremy Lane for the theme. Go check out our buddies Good, Better, Bad, Bad. Beyond the Blast Doors, This Film Is Lit, or Critical Misadventure, all that jazz. There's a lot of content for you.
When do we pair up with a jazz podcast called All That Jazz?
Okay, well, I mean, I would like to discuss that more off air. I didn't know we were ready to announce that.
Oh,
but-
I mean, you just said it. You
It's
just
not
announced it.
lunchtime yet.
yeah. well,
Okay, I'm sorry.
Or lunchtime. Stupid joke, but hardly even a joke. Bye.